In this video I want to take a look at how we might go about drawing a passive foundation for a single leaf wall. The foundation that I'm going to draw here is based on the isoquick passive foundation. You can see here it's got a layer of hardcore, minimum 150mm up to 300 is what I'm going to be using here, and a grit layer or a blinding layer of 68 and interlocking EPS of 300 as two 150mm. You've got radon barrier here, you've got your steel reinforcement in a concrete slab of 250, and you can see that there's a single leaf wall here without any detail in it, and you can see that the insulation comes to halfways on that wall, which is a 400mm wall. At the edge here where the ground is, there's not much clearance to the radon barrier, so I'm going to increase that to 150mm. So to start off with, I'm just starting from the ground layer, where I would put in my hardcore, which I'm putting in 300. So I've got two 300 layers, and then I've got a 250 layer. And what I'm doing here is now I'm just drawing where the center line of the slab would be on the wall and measuring over 1500mm at a scale of 1:10. And then I can center my wall, and I measure down my 150mm from the top of the concrete slab, and just using a 45-degree angle to come out to a 300mm wide piece of EPS shaped like that. So then it's just a center line really for the interlocking part, and you can see that line that I fingered out there was the ground line, which is 150mm now above the DPM. These interlocking pieces of EPS, I've made them 600mm wide, which would be roughly, I would imagine, around right there, and just a kind of squiggle line showing that it's interlocking. If you wanted to go to the trouble of hatching it, you could, I'm sure. And there's a blinding layer then below that. And below that again, then you would have your hardcore layer. So all I'm drawing in here now is the spacing away from the edge with the reinforcing bar. I'm sure in deeper slabs that you would have reinforcing bar possibly at a higher level as well too, so it would be kind of cage, which would improve its strength. And I'm bringing the wall up here as well to the 400mm wide wall, and as you can see it is centered between the EPS and the concrete slab. So there'll be variable designs in this here. I'm sure there would be high levels of insulation on this here, different types of renderings and waterproofing as well too, and different types of walls. And I would imagine as well the soil type would be a big bearing on using this as well too, depending on the loads. There'd be quite a bit of calculations carried out to ensure that it'd be capable of carrying the weight of the superstructure. The details here as I've sketched in is the concrete for the concrete slab, and the detail, rather than trying to do a whole load of little pebbles there showing the hardcore, I've just done them sparsely, and you can see there that I've also highlighted the ground that has been placed on. Here I'm indicating the radon barrier with a red pen just to make it stand out a little bit more. With the 150mm upstand up to the DPC, or where would the DPC would be, the DPM has now come out. So then just the details: single leaf external wall, for example timber frame, flexible render which is placed on the outside of the EPS, in which the concrete slab has been poured, just to prevent any mechanical damage. And the widths, of course, in the wall may vary depending on the design. Reinforced concrete slab, which I have in as 250mm, steel reinforcement bars of diameter 12, our radon barrier, interlocking EPS, the 300, so it's 300mm of insulation, so it's in 150mm layers, 2 layers, and our blinding, our grit layer, which is only 68mm, and then the hardcore. And all I'm doing here now is putting a little bit of colour just to make it stand out on the page. I'm sure that the ground here could actually be dropped as well to another little bit. The only issue you may have here maybe would be if there was a possibility of tanking where the water would get in underneath the EPS. I suppose it would depend on ground conditions and that sort of thing. And this is just a proffered solution to drawing a single leaf wall passive foundation. There's other ones like the super ground where the insulation has got fastenings or fixtures between them, and the other passive foundation that I've drawn is for a double leaf wall, whereas this one is single, but it looks quite effective. So hopefully that's a help.